Hi, everyone. I'm here with Connor for another two kid interview. But forget about that for now because the big story is time travel is real. What? Or at least on online time portal where you can speak to someone in the future. What are you talking about? Connor, what day is today? November 18th? Mr. Wallace, what day is it for you?
I believe it's November 19.
That's what I'm talking about. Time portal. We have to find out what happens. Do you know any sports scores? Abigail, he's just in Australia. So the portal travels time and space. Abigail, stop. Time zones. Time zones? Time zones. Aww. But there's no reason to be disappointed because we are here with number one New York Times best-selling author Adam Wallace. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to join you from the future. I'm very excited, but I don't know any sports scores. I don't know any touch lotto numbers. It's very disappointing. We can't make a fortune.
Dang it. You don't get a lot of words in a picture book. I would think that makes every word extra important. What's your process of making sure you have every word just right?
Oh, that is a tough question to start with. What I usually do is I will write when I do my first draft, I will write everything. So often a picture book is less than 500 words usually, and my first draft is sometimes 800 or 900 words because I just put everything down and just every idea that pops in my head, and then I go in and I sort of take bits out that maybe a picture could replace. So sometimes the picture can be in place of a sentence, and I just keep taking it back and back and back, and eventually you somehow kind of get down there. There's probably still some words in my books I could take out, but you have to stop somewhere. Otherwise, there'd be three words. It'd be hello, the end, and that would be it.
What is it like the first time you see the illustrations of your book? And do you ever learn something new with the drawings or are like, I didn't realize this?
Yeah, all the time. So all the time, illustrators will do pictures, and I'll be like, I never would have thought of drawing that picture for that bit of the book or anything like that. So that is almost the most exciting time of writing a book when the first rough pictures or the pictures come through. For example, in a book I've just done called Turkey in Disguise, the turkey dresses up as all these different things, and the illustrator Mike Moran, he would draw the turkey like it's a unicorn. It would have an ice cream cone on its head, and then if it was dressed up as a ninja, it'd be in a ninja outfit. But then when it's dressed up as a park bench, he just drew a park bench because it was like the ultimate disguise. So sometimes they do cool stuff like that, and I'm like, that is awesome.
Is it true that you wrote your first children's book because somebody dared you?
It is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So she was doing it was her name was Andrea, and she was doing a professional writing course, and she wrote a children's book. And I can't remember what it was called, but she wrote it, and it was about these kids that they actually did time travel in the book. So she wrote that, and they went into like this they would draw on like a magic blackboard, and they'd go in and they'd time travel. Anyway, I was like, that's really good. And she said, anyone can write a children's book, which is what a lot of people say, but it's not true. And I was like, well, I couldn't write a children's book. She goes, I dare you to write a children's book. And I, fine, I'll write a children's book. And so I did. And that was in 1999, so 26 years ago, and I've written almost every day since then.
Is there any how to catch books you haven't done yet that you want to do?
Oh, well, I've kind of finished writing the How to Catch ones now, but one I would have loved to have done while I was doing them, which was actually suggested to me by a kid, was How to Catch the Loch Ness Monster. I reckon that would have been
Hmm.
super fun. Yeah, and it could have been all like in Scotland and everything. It would have been awesome.
For a lot of people, one of your books is the first one they like. What does it mean when you hear that? And is there one story like that that really sticks in your mind?
Oh, good question. But before I answer that question, I have a question for you that I just thought of. If there was a How to Catch book that hasn't been written, what would you like a How to Catch book to be about? What would you like to see people try and catch?
How to catch an Abigail. You will never catch me! Well,
She's
folks,
not.
it's one kid interview. I'm Connor Bland, your host and co-host. They're back.
Almost had a solo host for a while there. Very good. Okay, back to regular programming. Back to the question. Um, let me think. Yes, I know. So it is very cool when I find out that it's like the first book kids like, and I've had very early on. I got some emails from parents who would say, my son has never read a full book before, and he just read your book 3 times, and that was so cool. Or they might say, my daughter thought she couldn't draw, and now she's done your how to draw books, and she can draw, and she's drawing all the time, and that's the best thing. That's what I do. I have a saying. I have an idea that my I measure my success on how much fun I'm having while I'm making the book, but I measure the success of a book on how much fun the kids have while they're reading it or doing it. So if I can do that, then that's the best thing ever. So they the reading it. I remember that one where she said he never read a book and he read it 3 times. That one was like very early on, and that one stood out. That was really cool.
Your books are very funny. When are you sure a joke will land the way you hope?
Ooh. What is it like when a joke doesn't land the way I would hope? Um, I love making my books funny. That's the thing that I want to do most of all is make books funny and make kids laugh and make parents laugh. But not every joke works. I've said one book one time, and it was how to draw a gorilla, how to draw a skateboard gorilla. And I took it into schools for one whole year. And there was one line in it that I thought was the funniest line in the world. And for one whole year, not one kid laughed at it. And it was so depressing for me. But I ended up reprinting it and I took that joke out and I did another one. So every time, because sometimes I'll write it, and if I don't test it on people, I might think it's funny, but it doesn't mean anyone else will. So now I test it, but also I did a lot of improvised comedy. And when you do that, if you try something that doesn't work, you just go again and you try it again. And so that makes it a lot easier.
In the United States, we are having more books getting banned. Is that a problem in Australia at all? And what do you think about book bans?
Oh, what do I think about book bans? Oh boy, this could take a while. How long have we got? If I talk about this for like 2.5 hours, is that okay? Oh, really? Oh
Sure.
man. Okay, so I don't think it's not as big a problem here. I don't even know if it happens here. Sometimes a school will say we don't want to have a certain book, but overall, books don't get banned over here in Australia, which is good because I actually think personally, book banning is quite silly because I think it's way better if there's a book that people don't like or they think isn't good to actually read it and then discuss it and talk about why they don't like it, as opposed to just banning it and not letting anyone read it. Because if we ban all the books, we don't get to learn anything. We don't get to talk about what we think is good and bad. And yeah, so I think it's silly. I think it's better. I have friends who weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons when we were growing up, and I have books that weren't allowed in certain schools. There's a few schools here where Harry Potter was banned, like not banned, but like schools wouldn't allow Harry Potter in their schools because they didn't like that it was wizards and things like that. So it does happen. I think it's better just to, and a lot of times the thing is that these schools, a lot of the people hadn't actually read the books. They just banned them before they even knew what they were. They knew what they were about, but they never actually read them to see how good they were or what they could do to actually be really great for kids and help them read. So anyway, I'm going to stop there because I think book banning is silly and shouldn't happen.
We agree. Do you ever have an idea pop into your head and need to stop working on whatever you were working on and just get that new idea right away?
Absolutely. One time I was on the phone with my friend Alfred, and Alfred prints a lot of my books, and we were talking, and a bull ant walked into my house, and I was like, Alfred, there's a bull ant in my house, and he went, oh, no, there's a bull ant in my bedroom, and he said, there's a bull ant in the bedroom, and it bit me on the bum. I went, oh, it's hilarious. I've got to go, and I actually hung up on Alfred, and I ran off to start writing the story, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'm driving along and I have to pull over to the side of the road and just write down an idea if it pops in my head. And I think it's so cool because I don't want to forget it. And if I get excited about it, that's really cool. And I want to just start writing on it. But sometimes, like if I wake up during the night and I get an idea, I used to like think about it and write it down so I could sleep. But I also think now what I'll do is I'll go, if it's a good enough idea, I'll remember it when I wake up. And if it's not a good enough idea, I won't remember it. So now I don't worry so much about remembering it. But sometimes if it's really, really good, I have to start writing it straight away just because I get so excited. And if you're excited about something, you should do it.
You basically live on the New York Times bestseller list. But can you tell us where you were and your reaction the very first time that happened?
I can absolutely tell you, I wasn't living in this house. I was in a different house, but I was sitting at my desk and I was on my computer and I had to go. So Source Books is the publisher. It was How to Catch a Leprechaun. And I had to go to their website for something else. I can't remember what it was, but I went on, and on their website, it had a little bit down the bottom corner. It said, "Congratulations to our newest New York Times bestseller, How to Catch a Leprechaun by Adam Wallace." And I was like, "What?" And so I emailed them. I'm like, "It's amazing. It's on the bestseller list." And they wrote back and they said, "Yeah, it's good, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yes. Why didn't you tell me?" So I remember it very clearly because they didn't actually tell me that it had happened. I just found out totally by chance. So I'll never forget that moment. That was so cool because I'd never even had a book published in America before, let alone reach the New York Times bestseller list. So that was awesome.
Besides reading a lot, what advice do you have for young writers?
Oh, young writers. I think the best advice I ever got was, I think writing, well, I write as much as you can. If you want to be a writer, you should write every day. Even if you just write 10 words on one day, you should write every day. You should read a lot because the more books you read, the more you get an idea of how stories kind of work. Watch movies as well. I think movies are really good in terms of like writing books. And I love movies. I try and watch a movie every day if I can. And I look at it and how the story works and everything. But I'm also reading 3 books every day as well, 3 books at a time. So I love reading and I love watching movies. But also, it's a bit like we were talking about just before, is you should write about stuff that gets you excited. Like if you're like, oh, everybody's writing vampire stories, but I hate vampires, but I'll write one because everyone's writing them. You shouldn't do that. If everyone's writing vampire stories, but you love stories about puppies, you should write stories about puppies because you got to, if you don't like it when you're writing it, or if you don't think it's cool or funny or sad or anything like that, then there's no point because you're not having fun. And if the success is measured by having fun, you got to write what you love writing about. So that's my thing. Although you've got to think about your audience. One time when I was at school, and I reckon I was about 10 years old, and my teacher wanted us to write a really happy, cheerful, lovely, friendly book with lots of happy things happening. And I read a book called Frogmen of the USA about these frogmen that came out of the water in America and tried to bite everybody's heads off. And so I didn't, even though I loved writing that story, I probably should have thought about what my teacher wanted a little bit.
On my head.
Yeah, protect your head, Connor. Protect your head. The frog. I still have that book. I still have that book from when I wrote it as well. Like I've got it in my room and I show it to kids. So that book now is about 40 years old when I wrote it when I was about 10. But yeah, but I got in a bit of trouble from my teacher for that. So you should write what you love writing about. But of course, if your teacher wants something, you should write that as well.
So I can tell my ELA teacher that a New York Times bestseller told me that I can write what I want, so I don't have to write my essay.
Oh no, we're going to get in so much trouble.
I'm gonna write about a pumpkin. Just a pumpkin.
Amazing. Do it. Just a pumpkin. And is it doing something or is the pumpkin just sitting there in the field?
It's just a one word book and one picture. Pumpkin and then a pumpkin.
Sounds amazing. That's the next New York Times bestseller. I can see it.
What author has had the most influence on you?
Oh, I love this question. There's a lot of authors, but probably the one that's had the most influence is someone you may know. I know his books came out in America, Andy Griffiths. Do you know his books? He
I
did the
think
13
so.
story treehouse.
Yes, I love that book. Oh,
Oh, cool. Yeah, so he was really good. When I started out, he was a bit of a mentor to me and gave me lots of advice and help and still does. I actually saw him a couple of weeks ago and he was still giving me bits of advice on because I actually just came to America and went to a lot of schools in America and did school visits. And he's done it before. So he gave me some advice on what American kids are like. And he said, Australian kids, they start about here and they get excited to hear. He's like, American kids, they start here and get excited to hear. And he was right. American kids get very excited very quickly, which was awesome. So he's probably the biggest. And the one I haven't met, but who has had an influence is actually Stephen King, who writes sort of horror scary stories because I loved that when I was sort of starting writing. So I read a lot of his books and his book on writing and everything like that. So what I met, but there's actually a really good group of authors here in Australia, and we hang out all the time, and so we sort of help each other a lot. But in terms of my writing, I reckon Andy Griffiths has had the most impact.
Can you tell us about a project or two you're working on now?
Ooh, this could be top secret stuff. Should I actually tell you? Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, cool. There's no top secret stuff. Well, I actually just released a book. Oh, have I gone through this? Hang on. I actually just released this book called Hat Man, which is a brand new book. It's part graphic novel and it's part chapter book, and it's actually a musical in a book. So it actually has QR codes that you scan, and it plays songs and has video clips and everything like that. So that's been really exciting. And I'm doing a lot of school visits. So I've actually got a school visit tomorrow and Friday, which will be your Wednesday and Thursday. I've got school visits, and then two next week, and then four in the next week after that, and then another one after that. So I'm doing lots of school visits to talk about Hatman, which is really fun. And I play the songs, and that's really cool. So I'm working on, I guess, promoting that a bit. In terms of writing, I'm writing a book. I'm with a friend of mine. We're writing a book of 6 short stories about sports, which is really fun, but like funny, silly stories. I'm also writing movies. So I'm writing one movie about some little babies in a playground that are like in little baby gangs, and they do baby rap battles, and they go on little cool baby cars and stuff like that. So I'm writing that movie. And what else am I working on? I think that's it at the moment. Oh no, and I'm also writing a. Hang on, I'm going to look right on my computer because they're all open. Um, oh, I'm doing a. I'm working on a story which is finished, but we're just working out a pitch to send it out called Zomwerepire, which is about a girl called Maddie, and she moves to a new town, and she ends up getting bitten at the very end of the book. After all this stuff happens, she gets bitten by a zombie, a werewolf, and a vampire at the exact same time. So she ends up getting all their powers, and she is Zomwerepire and has the powers of all of them. So I think that's it. I'm working on quite a bit at the moment.
Now it's time for our Turbo 10. Rapid
Oh, dear.
fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Number one, what is your favorite phrase to use?
I say awesome all the time. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Number two, what's one subject you'd love to learn more about?
Oh, one subject I'd love to learn more about is philosophy.
Number three, what is your go-to snack food?
Go to snack food is um, corn chips. I love corn chips and dip. And in fact, I had some just before I had my proper breakfast this morning because I was just craving corn chips.
Number four, what was your favorite book growing up?
My favorite book growing up was well, first of all, when it was picture books, I loved a book called The Pinkish, Purplish, Bluish Egg, which was by Bill Peet, who's a guy who used to work for Walt Disney. It was really cool. Then as I got a little bit older, my favorite book was The Twits by Roald Dahl. I love The Twits.
Number five, if you could teleport
Yes.
somewhere right now, where would you go?
If I could teleport somewhere right now, I would go back in time to your house so I could high five you both.
Yes. Number six, if you could have
Yes.
one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, only one. Oh man, I have two favorites. I'm going to say both, but say it really quickly so it seems like one. Flying and invisibility.
Number seven, what was your favorite
Yes.
cartoon as a kid?
My favorite cartoon as a kid was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and then The Simpsons.
Number 8. What is your
Yes.
favorite rainy day activity?
Oh, my favorite rainy day activity is either writing while it's raining outside, especially if it's a thunderstorm. I love writing in a thunderstorm, or reading my book, or I actually have a dartboard, so I like playing darts in the rain.
Number 9. If you could have any
Yes.
three dinner guests, who would they be?
Oh, three dinner guests. Who would it be? Well, you
No
two.
rules.
No rules. Do they have?
Next.
No, I've got to do one more. You two and oh boy, this is a hard one. I've got to think. My mind's gone blank. You two and Will Ferrell. I would love to have Will Ferrell as a dinner guest. He would be hilarious.
Number 10. What is
Yes.
the best piece of advice you were ever given?
The best piece of advice I was ever given is don't walk across the road without looking. But in terms of writing, the best advice I was ever given was, hmm, best piece of advice I was ever given writing. Well, when I started writing, the best advice I was go to lots of schools and meet the kids because the kids are the most important. If you're writing for kids, the kids are the most important people. So now I've done over 1,200 school visits. So I've met lots and lots and lots of kids. Like probably like 500,000 kids, and it's the best.
You were amazing. Thank you so much for doing that, and thank you so much for spending this time with us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for traveling into the future to chat with me.
Is it rainy in Buffalo? Wait, can we have a snow day? Can we make that possible?
Hang on. Done. You'll get a day off tomorrow.
Yay!
It's a miracle.